Hi, everyone. Can we gather together here, get under the tent or under the shelter there, out of the sun, or if you're a sunbird, you want to be out in the sun, whatever is your preference. We are so happy to see all of you here today. This is an amazing gathering today. I'm Janet Foley. I'm the Parks Administrator for the City of Logansport, and this is a day we've been working on for quite a while, and I can't tell you how excited. I get goosebumps just seeing all of you out there. I'm just so excited. So I'd like to begin the day kind of with I'm not particularly a super religious person, but I really believe today is a day the Lord has made, and I know there's a song about that. I wish I could sing it for you. I'm not that good, but I just feel like the Lord has blessed us to have this beautiful facility, and all of you people that have had a lot to do with this being here. And that includes everybody who's just visited. So we're happy to see all of you. I'd like to start out with a few introductions, if I may. There's quite a few people here that are important to our community, and I want to be sure that you all recognize, see them, and know that they're here. I'd like to first of all introduce His Honor Mayor Franklin over here. There's Mayor Franklin. Clerk Treasurer Carol Sue Hayworth. Is she able to be here? I thought she was going to be here. Okay. Our council members, and if you guys want to stand up, and then we'll let's clap our hands for them all at one time then, okay? Bob Bishop, he's already standing. Joe Buck, there, he's already standing. Gary Fox, there's Gary. Chuck Liddell, where's Chuck? Way back there in the back. Okay. Teresa Popejoy, she's over here. And Charlie Hastings, he's right here. So thank you all very much. Cass County Commissioner Ralph Anderson is here. Where's Ralph? There he is. Thank you, Ralph. Grover Bishop on the County Council, and over here. There's Grover. State Senator Randy Head. Where's Randy? He was over here. There he is, right there. Thank you, Randy. And then last but not least, I'd like to introduce my park board that I get the opportunity to work with on a regular basis, at least once a month, if not more often. Beth Myers is our president. Here, she's right back here. Hey, Beth. And where's Jeff Smith? Where's Jeff at? Jeff's right there in front of her. Jeff is our secretary. And Debbie Hastings, right here. And Rich Brewer. Where'd Rich go? There he is, back here. And we have two former board members that are here, at least two. Am I missing anybody else? But Terry Doran, right here in the sunglasses and the yellow shirt, and Jim Flew standing right next to him. They have been a big part in making this happen, so I want to be sure we get to see them. So thank you guys. I'm so glad to see all of you today. I'm going to turn it over now to Brian Morrill and Dave Workman, and they're Brian Morrill, just Brian. We'll get them all.
We're going to start today by honoring our great country. Cassia Scagnoli, a Logansport High School sophomore, is going to come up and sing the national anthem for us. So if everybody would please rise and face the flag, please.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
And we're going to bring Dave Workman up now to talk about how we got to this point, the history of how Huston Park came to be developed.
Good afternoon. Brian and the board had asked me to give a little talk about how we got here, and Brian, knowing how I can get off tangent, get pretty amped up about things like this, gave me these marks so that I wasn't still talking by the time the Colts were kicking off tonight. And I don't care how great this park is, I don't think many of us would have stayed. So let me read from this. In 2006, a group of community-minded individuals attended a local presentation by the Chamber of Commerce that discussed ways to brand the community and stimulate the economy. Shortly after that, there was a smaller group of Mike Mayer, Brian, Dave Ingram, some others, and they met over lunch at the local Holiday Inn to kind of continue the discussion and how they began to course what was to happen, not really knowing where they were going or where they'd end up. And that was 8 years ago. They didn't necessarily have a vision of this park as we see it today when they began the journey, but they did know they wanted to add something significant to the community's quality of life. Early discussions centered on the creation of a park that would host sporting events such as softball, soccer, and football for both local and sports and travels teams. The first item of business was to locate 20 acres, a minimum of 20 acres, that could be developed into a park. The group was looking at parcels of land located on the north side of Chase Road when it occurred to them that this land here, that we have right here, was contiguous to the 45 acres of land known as the Hervey Preserve, which was also owned by the Logansport Memorial Hospital Foundation, and it would provide connectivity to the developed River Bluff Trail along the Eel River beyond those trees. Brian had worked with Junie McNarney on several real estate transactions for the Huston family over the years that led to the meeting with Judy to discuss whether she could approach the Huston brothers about donating 20 acres of land to develop as a local park. Judy very graciously agreed to contact the family about the idea of creating what we now know as Huston Park. Shortly thereafter, Judy reported that the Hustons would not only be interested in donating 20 acres, but they would consider gifting the entire 80 acres that remained in the family name. Now, at this time, the committee was elated and shocked with that kind of news because the park idea was starting to gain momentum fast with the news, and the committee had the most critical asset to the project, that being this land. Without the offer from the Hustons, the project would not have gotten off the ground. With that offer also came a very scary thought, and that was, where would the financial resources come from to develop an 80-acre park, and how much money would that take? And if you can remember, 8 years ago, the economy wasn't the greatest. Fast forward 8 years later, know that to get to this point, it has taken $2.3 million, which 99% has been contributed by the private sector, and less than 1%, or $20,000, has come from local tax dollars. An amazing accomplishment that has been made possible by many of those donors in attendance today. There was a lot of work to be done over the last 8 years. A meeting of community leaders at the hospital to begin making a case for the park, and working toward raising seed money to cover the soft cost of developing the park, architectural cost estimates and plans. There was the disappointment of our opening bid that came in much, much higher than expected, and having to go back to the drawing board in an effort to bring down the cost of phase 1. But the Parks Foundation board had come too far to turn back at that point. They forged ahead, determined to raise the funds to get us to the point where we are at today. There were golf cart visits and bumpy pickup truck rides over this land when it was still being farmed to sell donors on the vision of this park. The effort picked up steam with the awarding of $400,000 soil and water conservation grants and the donation of the Penman Owens building which is right across the street over there, which many of you may have parked in their lot. Another major contribution came in shortly thereafter of $560,000 from the McTaggart Charitable Trust. The fundraising continued until finally enough had been accumulated to put the project out for bid a second time, and this phase one of the project came in close to budget, and the heavy equipment began to move the dirt. Throughout the last 8 years, there has been a concerted effort to bring a quality finish to the park. We wanted to make sure that the land had good drainage, which took nearly $500,000 in excavation costs. What we have today is an excellent park that has the potential to be so much more. The foundation has poured for a future that can serve many generations in ways that we probably can't even dream of today. The connectivity of the Huston Park to the Hervey Preserve, to the River Bluffs Trail, to the recently dedicated Coal Bridge across the Eel River, to the Eel River Run, Urban Trail, to Riverside Park, is a lasting gift that our donors have given to the citizens of Logansport and Cass County. And if I may just add an addendum, what I think is the greatest thing about this park is that kids from across that street can play on it. Kids from the Camelot Care Center can play on it. If you read about the park that was developed in Noblesville lately, the one that has 40-some softball fields, there was an article in the Indianapolis paper that stated how when they were showing a tour of that place, there were 3 kids playing a pickup game of baseball and they were kicked off the fields. That is not going to be the heritage of Logansport Park because of the donation of the Hustons and all the fellow donors. Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you later.
I guess I get to introduce Beth Myers, our next speaker, and she's going to talk a little bit about the Huston family, because she did a lot of research on you guys. Did you do that?
I hope it's all good. I am Beth Myers. I am fortunate enough to be the park board president, and it's a thrill and an honor to be here. I'm extremely grateful for the Park Foundation, especially for allowing me to work with them. So if I get a little misty here, it's because I've never been involved in anything like this. So here's what we know about the Hustons. The Huston family has been an important fixture in Logansport for nearly 100 years. The family patriarch, Harry Huston, was a diligent student at LHS and was a member of the Tatler staff. The 1918 Tatler, Mr. Huston was described as long and lean and was especially noted for his brains and his fidelity at Tatler meetings. Mr. Huston's loyalty to the Tatler carried over into his adulthood and in turn to his boys. Howard, class of 1953, Sam, 55, Tom, 59, and Mike, 61. That fidelity has recently manifested into this gift of 80 acres now known as Huston Park. The principal of Logansport High School, Mr. Matt Jones, describes this phenomenon as simply as once a berry, always a berry. Mr. Huston was born in Peking, Indiana on May 14, 1900, and moved with his parents to Logansport in 1905, where his father, Howard Hayes Huston, established an insurance agency. Mr. Huston married Dorothy Chu in 1933, and as was family tradition, she too made her mark on the community through her years of service as a registered nurse at Memorial Hospital. Harry Huston made his adult career as a standout agent of the Indianapolis Life Insurance Company. In 1955, on the company's silver anniversary, Mr. Huston was featured as one of the top agents, a leading producer, and a career life underwriter. Additionally, Mr. Huston was also a property developer. He established Meadowview and other residential subdivisions of the city, as well as Chase Park commercial development. At the time of his death in 1957, Mr. Huston was treasurer of H&R Properties, as well as a member of Calvary Presbyterian Church, the Elks Lodge, the American Legion, the Columbia Club of Indianapolis, and the Logansport Country Club. Harry Huston's sons have all achieved excellence in their chosen careers. Sam Huston followed his father into the insurance business and retired after more than 40 years with the Indianapolis Life Insurance Company and then the Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. He and his wife Janet currently live in Florida and have 9 grandchildren. Mr. Tom Huston, a retired attorney, and his wife Janet live in Indianapolis. Mr. Tom Huston practiced for several years as a partner with the Indianapolis law firm of Barnes and Thornburg. Not only was he an accomplished lawyer, but he also served as an officer in the U.S. Army and was an assistant to President Nixon. Mr. Michael Huston graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point, and after several years of active service, resigned as a captain in 1970. He then attended law school and in 1972 joined the Indianapolis firm of Baker and Daniels. Mr. Michael Huston made partner in 1979 and retired from the firm in 2000. He and his wife Joni reside in Florida where they enjoy their grandchildren. The Huston family will continue to be an important fixture in Logansport. Their generosity cannot be underestimated. By hearing the name Huston Park, Logansport's newest park will bear testimony to the legacy of this loyal Logansport family. Like Mr. Jones says, once a berry, always a berry. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Judy McNarney first here. We're going to begin our recognition of our donors here at this point.
Some of this you've already heard, but I first met the Huston family in the person of Sam. In 1957 at Indiana University, when I pledged the sorority, it was right across the street from his Phi Psi fraternity house. He was pinned to and later married one of my sorority sisters, Janet Stager. That's when I first met Sam. Sam got to know my husband after graduation when they were both serving the Army at good old Fort Benjamin Harrison. Who would know that 20-some years later, Pat and I would move to Sam's hometown? Small world, isn't it? After I became a realtor, a mutual friend suggested the Huston boys might be interested in listing their property with me of what was remaining of Chase Park, the Chase farm that they had inherited from their father. Chase Center and several other office buildings were already here, but my main contact, who was Mike, an attorney at Baker Daniels, he and I began a 25-plus year adventure of developing this northern part of this land and selling it parcel by parcel. The Hustons made a big investment by extending Smith Street, water and sewers. That's not an inexpensive thing to do. And then getting the property annexed to the city of Logansport. Brian Morrill of Cass County Title helped us close many of those transactions, and he knew all the intricacies of this area. So, as Dave already told you, he called me one day to say, would the boys donate 20 acres? If you look way back in the far southwest corner, there's about 20 acres of fairly level field, which they thought would work fine for soccer and football. I made the call, and you know the result. They not only donated the 20, but they gave us the entire 80 acres. What a gift. When I called Mike and he said he'd talk it over with his brothers, I wasn't sure what to expect. After all, we'd been working really hard to develop this area. But I really do think it's a God thing. Jan already alluded to that. We asked the right people at the right time to do the right thing. And what a treasure this has become. Today we want to recognize Mike and Joni, and their granddaughter who's with us, Sam and Janet, and a whole slew of their kids and grandkids who are with us. I think they have 4 Sams in the family, I was told. And we also have Tom. Brenda, his wife, is not with him because she's it's a high school reunion in the Carolinas. But we'd like to recognize all of you for giving back to your community. You have made the rest of all this possible. If you would come forward, we have one little token to give you, which is a disc of pictures and sort of the whole background of how this began. And Jan has a beautiful picture book that Judy Barr, who's taking pictures, has taken amazing photographs of the different stages. They're sitting in the Indianapolis airport. They didn't quite make it, so we'll have to mail this to you. But if you'll come forward, please, the whole family, let us recognize you. You all know the story. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be open. We were blessed when Sam, Mike, and Tom donated this 80 acres for Huston Park. And since I'd been so successful in that adventure, I got a call about a year later from Dave Workman saying, "Say, do you think Jeff Penman and Connie Owens, who have the office building across the street that you have listed, might be interested in donating it to the city at some time?" So I graciously made the call. Nothing like giving up your commissions for future savings, right? But again, I truly believe it was a God thing. When you ask the right people at the right time, the right thing happens. After they discussed it, Jeff and his wife said we would be glad to make that donation to the Parks Department to use that as a community center for whatever happens in Huston Park and down in the future. If you look behind you, that beautiful building, it's 5,178 square feet, all brick with a maintenance-free exterior. It has a wonderful condition and movable interior walls. There's a finished partial basement, even has a laundry and a half bath. Attached 3-car garage with overhead storage, great place for the Parks Department to park their trucks. And it's all sitting on 1.59 acres of land with over 40 parking spaces on site. What a gift. As I said, we're blessed as a community. I truly believe these kind of things happen for a reason, not by accident. And with this donation of the Penman Owens building, the 80 acres from the Hustons, as Dave has already said, it connected us with the Herbie Preserve, the River Bluff Trail, the Cole Bridge, the other trails that go completely around to the River Bluff Trail on the Wabash River and onto 18th Street. What a wonderful bestseller for quality of life and economic development. Unfortunately, Jeff and Connie are out of town this weekend and not able to be with us, but we wanted to publicly recognize them for their unselfish, marvelous gift to the community. Thank you.
I meant to say too, you know, a lot of this, we've had such terrific press this week in the newspaper and on the radio and in Cass County Community Connection, and you can find Beth's story in today's paper. She had a guest column in the paper today, and I think they had a really great story here earlier with the map, and that was on Wednesday's paper. So, and then today they were talking about the rest of this event here today. So we've really had a great coverage this week. So I'd like to ask Jim Callaghan, you want to come up for? I'm gonna put you right up here with me. Jim Callaghan and I have had we call him Dex too. Jim and I have known each other through Special Olympics. Both our boys are involved as Special Olympic athletes, and we've also shared in the responsibilities of being coaches. He's a track coach and a basketball coach too. So, and I do swimming coaching, and so we have a love for helping kids and people that need a little extra help to be successful. And I think that's one of the things that Jim understood at the very beginning, that if you give someone the tools to succeed, that more than likely that's what's going to happen. Jim saw this as an opportunity to enhance his family's experiences, as well as all the other families of Logansport. I think healthy lifestyles was also a big part of what he was after. And so we have named the Southwest Trail in his family's honor, J. Hart, the J. Hart Trail. And but with the name of Callaghan, you probably get an idea that he's Irish. And the one thing that when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to say, I kind of think this is something that you're saying with the trail, and I'm going to put words in your mouth whether you want me to or not, but the old Irish blessing, and I thought this was appropriate. May the road rise to meet you, may the wind be always at your back, may the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of your hand. So, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Brian. Please, Brian.
As in Dave Workman's opening comments, one of the things he said was when we got this gift for 80 acres, I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I kind of broke out into a cold sweat because I realized that we had 80 acres of land and now we really had to go to work because we didn't have any money. And it was kind of a scary thought, but one of the early gifts that came in that was really critical to the success of the park and getting it off the ground was the McTaggart Charitable Trust. And I'm going to read a little bit about the purpose of the trust, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the McTaggarts. The McTaggart Charitable Trust was created and funded as a result of the generosity of Arthur J. McTaggart, William R. McTaggart, and Helen P. McTaggart, whose ties to the Logansport community go back well over a century. Through this charitable trust, it was their hope that the Logansport and surrounding community might be improved for its residents through grants to fund projects to beautify Logansport and its parks, to meet the community's health and spiritual needs, and to encourage the arts, education, and recreation. And as you can see with that last sentence, that's a pretty wide area. They didn't tie the trust administrator's hands. They left it open to a lot of different projects. And over the years, the McTaggart Charitable Trust donated over $2 million to causes around Logansport and Cass County. The largest gift they made was to Huston Park. It was $560,000. They dedicated $85,000 to help with our soft costs that we needed to talk to the architects and get the ball rolling. And then there was about $465,000 left, or $485,000 left to be able to put into the construction of the park. And that came in the year 2008. And again, it was one of our first gifts, and it was what we needed to kind of get the push behind it and let the other donors that we were talking to know that we actually had some money put back towards developing this park. And it wasn't just a pipe dream. I don't know a lot about Art McTaggart and Helen McTaggart, except that I know that Art was a teacher. He spent most of his adult life in Korea as a teacher over there. And I know Helen McTaggart had a PhD, and she was a college professor in San Francisco. And Bill McTaggart, who I think a lot of you maybe have Logansport roots know, Bill was at the library for a long, long time. As a little elementary student, I remember going to the summer reading program and checking my books out, and Bill would be behind the library, always friendly, always polite, always asked questions about how you were doing. And that even continued into my adult life as I came back after college to Logansport. Great family, obviously thought a lot about Logansport. Today, obviously, none of the McTaggarts are left, but their trust was administered by Salem Bank and Trust Company, and we are fortunate to have Kate Borkowski here. I'm going to ask Kate to come up. And back in 2008, I remember when Mike Mayer and I made the presentation to Kate and the Trust Committee, and we got a good sign that they were going to support this project. One of Kate's comments was, "Boy, I sure can't wait for the day when we can come and have this dedication." And here we are 6 years later. I don't think any of us thought it would take that long, but it's a great feeling, and it was good to see you here today, and I'm thankful you came up. Thank you. The other thing we've done to recognize the McTaggart gift is, some of you may have seen it when you walked in or you're parked over here. There's a little circle out there in the middle that's called the McTaggart, help me, Jan.
Circle of Giving.
The McTaggart Circle of Giving. And at the end of our program today, we're going to talk about ways that we could still develop this park through donations. And there's bricks out there on that Circle of Giving that can be purchased. There's benches that can be purchased, there's trees that can be purchased, and then there's other opportunities in phase 2 and 3 for major gifts and an endowment that will help keep this park the way we all want to see it. And we won't be here, but in 50 years and 100 years from now, we want to make sure that this park's still giving back. The next donor we'd like to recognize is the Mike Anderson Auto Group, and Terry Doran and I made a presentation to Mike and and Bill Thompson and Linda Hale back, oh gosh, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and they were on board early as well, and we talked to them about developing this field out here. One of the things that is tough around Logansport if you're a youth league coach is there's not a lot of flat ground. You see youth football teams practicing on slopes or up around the high school, and it's not always the most smooth ground to practice on. Our parks were really built long before we had a big open fields. There's parks, but there's not a lot of open space in those parks sometimes, except for out here. And one of the nice things that's happened with the Mike Anderson Field out here is that there's football teams practicing out here on Saturday mornings and through the week. There's soccer teams, both adult and youth leagues, that are practicing out here. So that field's getting a lot of use, and it's Mike and Linda and Bill had a lot of questions for Terry and I that day, I remember, and we worked through all those questions, and they came and supported us within a few days after that presentation. And I think Bill is here, and I think I saw Linda here. Could you guys come on up? Mike is out someplace. I'm not sure where, but
he's running a mini marathon.
He's running a mini marathon. All right. Thank you. Dave Workman, I'm going to go just one out of order here because I've got the next one, or the one after yours too. So I'll tell you a little story, one last story, and then you'll be done with me, I think. But when I had Tom Morris out here, and didn't have access to a golf cart that day, so I had my pickup truck, and it was before any of this was developed, and it was still corn or beans, I don't know. It was either in the spring or the fall because there weren't any crops up. But I'm not a farm boy, so we were driving across. I was trying to get him back to the field back there at the back that's named the Morris Family Trail, and we're going across the field, and I didn't know that if you went with the rows, it'd probably be a lot less bumpy than if you went across the rows. So we're going across that field, and I'm looking over at Tom, and his head's just about hitting the top of my roof, and we hadn't gone very far, and Tom said, it's kind of bumpy out here. And I thought, oh boy, this isn't starting off real good. But I took him back, and we laid the plans for the trail, and we talked about the vision out on the hood of the pickup truck. And I wasn't too sure. Tom didn't say a whole lot, but he kind of hinted that he wanted to do something in memory of his mom and dad. And Tom Morris Sr. Ran T.M. Morris Manufacturing for many years in this community, and then Tom ran it after that. But again, just probably 3 or 4 days later, he called me back and he said, "Yeah, we'd like to jump on board with that." And we're really appreciative. And that was the last trail segment that we needed because we didn't have the money to be able to pave the trails all the way around. And when Tom's gift came in, we were able to get the whole 1.7 miles done. So Tom and his wife Elsa are on a cruise in Alaska right now, but we're fortunate to have their 2 daughters with us. And and that would be Kendra Morris and also Erica Shively, sorry. If you guys would come on up, and we want to recognize your family for the donation that they've made. Dave, if you would come on up, Dave Workman.
It is a privilege to introduce the donation made by Logansport Savings Bank. And it is my opinion, I grew up in a small town, a little town called Kewanee, Illinois. Our claim to fame as being the hog capital of the world, and it doesn't look good on the resume. And my dad was a small business owner, and he taught me that the foundation of a small town is often determined by the lending institutions and the small business owners that live within that town, because there's where you're going to get the people that make a deep commitment, unlike other entities that the managers may not live there, or that the profits leave your community. The Logansport Savings Bank takes that very, very seriously in their endeavors by sponsoring many different functions for a wide variety of programs. They have consistently been a community leader and very gracious with their assets in regards to making a better commitment for this community now and in the future. And being fortunate enough to know the leadership of the bank, it is my opinion that they do it not just for the advertising purposes. They realize that without us helping one another in a situation such as this, our community could also wither and die, as many other ones have done and will do so. So this commitment that the Logansport Savings Bank made represents their ongoing commitment now and in the future to the vitality of Logansport and the families that live here, raise their children here, and commit their lives here. It's with great honor that I speak with Chad Gear, representing the Logansport Savings Bank, and thank him very graciously for their donation.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Dave. I get the privilege of following Dave because Dave and Beth, it's your turn. I think that's one of the great things about working with the group that we have worked with is that they have all seen the needs and they have made sure that we've been taken care of. And Beth and Dave have graciously helped us to build this playground back here. It's the Workman Family Playground, and they just like me, they come from somewhere else to live in Logansport, but they have made it their home. They've raised their children, just like Dave was talking about. It's an important thing for our community, and we're so happy that the two of you have done that for us. I think that their love for children is one of the main reasons that they wanted to help us with the playground, because they have their own children have all grown, but they've been wonderful children, and they know how to raise good children. I think playgrounds are an important place for kids to test themselves, to have fun, use their imaginations, and I think that Dave and Beth, you see that, and I appreciate your big contribution to make this playground possible, and we really appreciate you guys being a part of our project. Thank you so much. I get we talked about it a little bit, but Judy and Pat McNarney are some of the most wonderful people that we have in our community. They have donated the funds to build this new shelter. Brand new shelter, by the way. It finished on Friday, thanks to John Brown. Right there, raise your hand, John. He worked Labor Day. Thank you, John. But I've had the pleasure of getting to know Pat through Pop Fest, and worked with Judy on this project and being on the Logansport Parks and Recreation Foundation. And I came across, I hope you'll bear with me for a moment, I came across a story that it's a children's book, and it's called The Crown on Your Head. And I think that the pavilion is this crown. On the day that we met and I put you to bed, I noticed a crown on the top of your head. It was made of sparkling, glimmering things like moonlight and fireflies and dragonfly wings. As the days came and went, it was faithful and true. And it grew right along with the rest of you. I always knew just what your crown meant. It said that you were magnificent. That means you are grand from your toes to your chin. Take a deep breath and let that sink in. That's about as high as a word can climb. That's the top of a mountain, a steeple chime. That's over the moon in a nursery rhyme. And it means like a star, you were born to shine. Blink 3 times and there you are a twinkling little star. In other words, from your very first day, you were chosen to glow in a very big way. With your crown made of glittering, high-flying things, you've got wind in your pocket. Your wishes have wings. You run like you mean it, so let the wind blow. There's just no telling how high you can go. Whatever it is you choose to do, no one can do it exactly like you. Ride on the big slide, and if you fall down, remember your glorious, marvelous crown. It won't flicker or fade, it won't dim, it won't leave. All you have to do is believe. Do you, my child? I hope you do. The world is a wonderland waiting for you, and you get to share it with all your friends too. They each have a crown that is faithful and true. No one's is brighter, no one's is duller. It's only a crown of a different color. So sometimes, just every now and then, whisper, I believe, again. Your crown is your best friend forever by far. It tells the true story of just who you are. That's why every night when I put you to bed, I'm careful to kiss the crown on your head. And I think that that's what Pat and Judy have done for us. They've put the crown on our head. And I am so grateful to both of you for your contribution and all the love that you've given to Huston Park and also to the city of Logansport. You all have heard the story of how much she's contributed to make sure that we got the land, we got the building, and then their own dollars of their own. And it just makes a huge difference. And we're so grateful to both of you for doing that. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Pat and Judy. Who's next? Oh, I get one more. Actually, who's next? Brian, are you back? You're back. Okay.
This next couple we're going to recognize, I've known Steve Sims for quite a while, Heidi not as long, but they are quiet leaders in our community, and I'll tell a quick story about them as well. They were on my list to contact about a possible donation, but typical of the Simses, they beat me to the punch. They sent their money in before I could contact them. I got a call from Jan one day, and Steve and I coach cross country together, and we have our team out here from time to time practicing because it's such a nice venue for that. And so Steve knew, he knew about the park. He stays in contact with that kind of stuff and what's going on in the community. And they sent their donation in before they were even asked. And then to kind of follow up on that, when you're planning events like this, sometimes things slip through the cracks. So a couple of days ago, I was proofing a news release that, Jan, I'll tattle on you a little bit here. You left the Sims's name out of the news release as a donor. And I caught it, and I quickly texted Steve, and I said, Steve, I just want you to know we left your name by accident inadvertently out of the press release, and we're going to try to get it fixed. And Jan got it fixed, fortunately, but true to form with Steve, he texted me back almost immediately, said that's not why we gave. And I really appreciate their gift because of that kind of selfless attitude that Steve and Heidi have. So come on up. Thank you. We're working through the list here. We're just about to the end, but we have another local bank here in town, Security Federal Savings Bank, and they recognized when we approached them for a possible contribution to the park that just as important as developing the park is maintaining the park. The way it is intended to look today, and we want to maintain that look and even grow this park down the road. Security Federal came back to us with an offer to establish an endowment fund that will help us preserve this park over time. Now, that endowment fund doesn't have a large amount of money in it right now, but we're hopeful that over the years and maybe even after this event that some people feel the urge to maybe help contribute to that and to make sure this park serves this community for a long, long time. So they've established a fund that is it's an endowment fund. We're not going to raid the principal of it. It's going to continue to grow, and then over time, hopefully that balance will grow to the point where we can take some money out to maintain this park over time, because we all know that cities and counties are kind of, their resources are shrinking, at least they are right now, so we need to make sure that we can maintain that over time. And I'd like Suzanne Choka, Trust Officer at Security Federal, and John Michael Price to come on up and be recognized. Thank you.
Your TV's there at the bank.
Thank you, John.
You can stay here. Okay, Brian, where's your wife? Tara? And so Brian, you guys come up closer here. When we did start talking about this, and it's really appropriate that Brian was the one that told you about the maintenance fund, because that's one of his, that was one of the first things that he felt like was really important. Because I think when we saw that we put together a maintenance fund at the River Bluff Trail, we were just so in awe of the hospital doing that for that trail, that we felt like that was an important thing to do. And Brian has been steadfast in that we're going to do this, and so his gift was for the maintenance fund, and we are so pleased to be able to have that fund and to see that fund grow. And we're so grateful to both of you for making sure that is established for now and in the future. So thank you so much to both of you. I also would like to say, and David Amin, are you here? Where's David? He's right there. He probably didn't expect this at all, but when we first found out that we would be able to match the land and get a $200,000 grants from our Land and Water Conservation Fund, the Memorial Hospital Foundation were the ones that held the land for us for, it was probably a couple of years, wasn't it, Bob? I think, and without them doing that for us, that was a major thing, because we couldn't get the donation, or we couldn't get the grants without that land being available. During the time that they held the land, they also harvested some trees here on the property, and they kept that money there for us to use. And so we were able to do our charrette, our planning charrette with the community using that fund. And they also helped us with some other details here and there with planning money and things like that. So thank you so much, David, and we can't begin to tell you how grateful we are that you guys helped us with that. So thank you so much. Come on up. And then I have one more person I'd like to recognize, Bob Bronson. Bob is the grants coordinator for Department of Natural Resources, Division of Outdoor Recreation. And they're the ones that always want to see our master plans, and so I do kind of report to him a little bit. But Bob and his cohort, Susan, have really been a great team to help us get through a lot of the stuff that, especially when we talk about handicap accessibility and all the things that are required of the grant process. So anyway, I want to thank you, Bob, for being here and helping us get to this point today, and certainly your bosses and everybody else that had helped us do this. So you want to come up here? Okay, thank you, Bob. Let's see. Brian, who's next? The mayor's next, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to introduce Mayor Franklin. He's going to share with us.
I think everything you've heard today gives you reason to reflect on what a great community we live in. So many generous people that have dedicated not only their time, but their resources, their money. Jan's efforts, the efforts of the Parks Board, past city councils that go back to 2006. I can remember the first time that I heard about this project, 2006, when Brian and Dave invited me to lunch at Applebee's. And they were interested in knowing what the finance chairman of city council thought about an investment in 80 acres of land. And here we are some 8 years later, and we've made tremendous progress and great strides. And I'm eager to see what's going to take place in the next 8 years as we finish this thing off and move forward. So with that, I say thank you to everybody for your participation, for being here today, and for your kindness and generosity to the city of Logansport. Your family's name will live forever now in Logansport. With that, I want to read this proclamation. Whereas the Logansport Parks Department is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life for residents through recreation, leisure activities, and conservation efforts. And whereas our community benefits from trails, playgrounds, picnic areas, and athletic fields as they provide recreation, transportation, healthy lifestyles, and a high quality of life for our residents. And whereas in the year 2006, a vision to provide a park facility providing a stronger sense of community and security for residents to enjoy transpired. And whereas the sons of the late Harry and Dorothy Huston shared in this vision by providing a gift of 80 acres of vacant land to create this magnificent park in celebration of their parents' lives and their contributions to the city of Logansport. And whereas this land is located in a prime spot that provides connectivity to the Hervey Preserve, the River Bluff Trail, the Eel River Run, and the Cole Bridge at Riverside Park. And whereas through the combined resources of private donors, grants, the Memorial Hospital Foundation, the City of Logansport, and the Logansport Parks and Recreation Foundation, Huston Park was developed for use by the citizens of Logansport, Cass County, and for the public at large. And whereas, as stated in the Land and Water Conservation Act, this land, known as Huston Park, shall be dedicated for outdoor recreational use in perpetuity. And whereas, by bearing the name Huston Park, Logansport's newest park will bear testimony of the legacy of this loyal Logansport family. Now therefore, I, Ted Franklin, Mayor of the City of Logansport, State of Indiana, do hereby call upon all of our citizens to forever recognize this beautiful recreational park as Huston Park. Thank you very much.
Okay, I know you. Be patient here. We're getting there. And would any of you like to say anything? Mike, Sam, or Tom? Do you have any? You want to come up and?
You want to say something?
I'm going to introduce. This is Sam Huston. Bob is going to be the speaker.
Thank you very much. First thing I'd like to do is recognize our families here and have them stand because they represent our wives, children, grandchildren, son-in-laws, fiancés, and even a soon-to-be great-granddaughter for my wife Jan and I. So would my family please stand and be recognized? My second thing to say is I want to thank Judy for giving my speech today. Because in my speech I mentioned that she and Janet met at the Kappa House 58 years ago. I mentioned that Pat and I met at Fort Benjamin Harrison 55 years ago. She represented us as a realtor for over 30 years as we developed Chase Park. Then they got married and we got married, and we maintained that friendship for over 50 years. Based on that history, let me say first that one of my favorite quotes is that the best antiques are old friends. And based on our history, our family is pleased to have the McNarney Family Shelter as a major part of Huston Park. Having these names linked together for generations to come is a wonderful gift to both families and the city of Logansport. As my brothers and I recognize or benefit from time spent in Spencer and Dykeman and Riverside Park, we realize that parks give children a sense of place, self-identity, security, and belonging. And to paraphrase Millie Beatty, former director of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, what a city chooses to save is what a city chooses to say about itself. And Mayor, with this new park, Logansport has said to its current citizens and children, we care about you and our future generations, and I want to say our family is proud that we are able to be part of that commitment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Before we wrap up here, there's one person that we cannot forget to acknowledge and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is my good friend and park administrator, Janet Foley. When she asked me to be on the park board 8 years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, are you crazy? And it's actually been a wonderful experience. I've never been on anything like it. And then when they wanted me to be on the Park Foundation, and I have been the secretary there for 7 years, again, thank you so much for allowing me to do that. But Jan is an absolutely wonderful park administrator. I can't tell you the amount of money that she has brought into Cass County. And to be associated with her, and when I came out here the first time, it was cornfield. And then to be able to take my dog and to walk around it, so I got to see something from paper to actually like walking it. And I think that is a phenomenal accomplishment, and I am so proud and pleased that Janet Foley is our park administrator. Jan? David Workman.
Jan is the epitome. Some people have a job to live, and some people live for their job. And that's Jan. Before I end up the program here about the future of Huston Park, I wanted to say one thing. I'm so sorry, Judy, for taking those commissions away, because when you were describing Penman's building, I was ready to buy it. I mean, when you went into the 1.598 acres, I thought, she said that before, hasn't she? So I apologize. I apologize. As a commission person myself, it hit right there. If you imagine a big canvas, we're about a third painted right here, folks. We're about a third painted. Now, if you can listen closely, you can almost hear an outdoor band playing in an amphitheater right over there, because that's going to be phase 2. And could you imagine something greater than to have families under the starlight listening to a band, or maybe an Easter morning service, an ecumenical service for the whole town, where they have a pastor up there, and that we bring talent in. And then over there, you can't see it, but there's enough acres for more and more football and soccer fields. And we're so oftentimes thinking about, oh, this younger generation, they've got nothing to do, or you know, what can we do to help them keep them off the streets? There's nothing better than the classroom of athletics. And that will be the classroom of athletics, where morals and values can be taught that many of us here have been taught. So the way that we want to progress with this is that, A, for the endowment, if you're thinking about making another donation or a donation, we have an endowment that will take care of this. So in the future, the grass is mowed and it's green and this is upkept and the park looks good. We have plans for 2 more phases. There'll be bricks. If you go, there's the lady behind you there in that tent. You can sign up to buy bricks that we're going to have by the McTaggart Circle of Giving. We had a number of trees die off, and we called it an opportunity because we're going to sell some more trees. And if you want to have your family name or have anything, you can buy a tree. And so there's plenty of opportunities to continue giving, because as great as this is, and it's great, they're not having this in a lot of other cities around this state out this weekend, I'll guarantee you that. They're moping and crying about what they don't have. But in Logansport, that's not how we roll. So if there's ways that you think that you could continue to add on to the Huston Park, please consider a donation to the endowment, buy some bricks, buy a tree, and then just think of the great things that are yet to come. The best is yet to come. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
I'm going to say, I'm really a lucky person, because I have a terrific park board that is very supportive of the parks and the things that we try to do. And I have a supportive, just the community in general is very supportive. And I can't believe that I've had the privilege of doing this. It'll be 15 years in October. So I'm very pleased with it. I have a terrific staff as well. Dean and Vicki and Kathy have been here. They worked really hard all weekend to get this looking good for us today. So I appreciate that. I also want to do a real quick thank you to Terry Doran, right there. Terry Doran has been on our Parks Foundation, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done for this, Terry. He's also been my sounding board on a lot of occasions. And thank you, Terry. And the rest of the foundation, all these guys that have been up here speaking are all on the foundation board. So Brian Morrill, Dave Workman, where'd you go, Dave? He's back here. Mike Mayer, Mike's over here with the balloons in his hand. Vicki Bird over here. Vicki and then Beth Myers both have been very important in getting this all together for us today. Judy McNarney, she's been a wonderful person to be on the foundation board as well. I'm forgetting somebody, aren't I? No? I think I'm good. We're good. Okay. You guys are all so great. Thank you so much for all your hard work and the hours of dedication that you put into this park. We appreciate it. So, okay, now we're gonna have some fun now. I need everybody. Which side of the ribbon are we gonna be on? We're gonna do a ribbon cutting.
This side, whatever side's best for the picture. This side.
This side? Okay. Everybody stand on this side. We're gonna take the picture of everything back this direction. So, and then, well, as many of you that can get a balloon, that's all the balloons we got left. They've been flying out all day. So, anyway, if you get a balloon, if you can, and then we're going to do a little balloon launch after we've done our ribbon cutting. So everybody.